What's up, people? Hey, today I just want to talk to you a little bit about Barry Sanders. Uh, but before I do that, make sure you don't forget to like, subscribe, and message me in regards to this video. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you have to say. Uh, so, Barry Sanders, he played for the Detroit Lions. He was a running back, dynamic running back. I mean, you hear a lot of these greatest of all time running conversations, and his name is always in it as one of the top three of all time. So Barry Sanders played 10 seasons with the Detroit Lions from 1989 to 98. He gained in his career 15,269 yards. In his 10th year, his final year, he finished with 1,470 yards. Touchdowns in his career, he had 99 touchdowns. So a lot of people feel like Barry Sanders retired early, like he had yards left in him. He could have ended up as the all-time rushing leader if he really wanted to. So Emmitt Smith for the Dallas Cowboys ended up being the all-time rushing leader. Emmitt finished with 18,355 yards. Okay, that's 3,086 more yards than what Barry finished with. But Emmitt Smith played 15 seasons. Remember I said Barry played 10. In Barry's last season, his 10th year, which was his final year, he was 30 or 31 years old at that time. He finished with 1,470 yards. So Emmitt played 5 more years than he did, and he ended up with little over 3,000 more yards. So I think the reason why a lot of people say Barry he could have been the all-time leading rusher. First of all, they're looking at his style. He was more flashy. He was more hard to tackle. He was super hard to tackle. Some of the moves and things he did were amazing. Just unbelievable what he did. So let's just base it on his last year. He gained 1,400 yards that year. Okay, let's say he would have played. Let's give him 5 more years, like Emmitt Smith. He would have played 15 seasons. And let's say for those 5 seasons, if he would have played 5 more seasons, let's say he would have kept himself in tip-top shape, avoided injury, been able to be at his top speed and his durability to make the moves that he had, things like that. Let's just say, for example, he would have gained 1,200 yards. Let's say that was the peak. Every year he'd have gained 1,200 yards for 5 years. That would have been 6,000 yards added on top of the yards that he already had. So if he would have stayed in tip-top condition and gained 1,200 yards a year for 5 more seasons, that would have given him 6,000 yards. Barry would have ended up with 21,269 yards, which would have gave him the rushing title. Now, let's say, for example, Barry would have just gained, let's say his production would have dropped off. Let's say the Lions would have wanted to lower his production, or they would have got a second running back to help out, kind of like you see today in today's football game. Let's say he would have gained just 700 yards. If he would have gained 700 yards for 5 more years, that would have gave him 3,500 more yards rushing. He would have ended up with 18,769 yards. That would have still put him above Emmitt Smith as the all-time leading rusher. So I think it's kind of safe to say that if Barry would have kept playing, he could have been the all-time leading rusher. We'll never know. He left that up to our imagination because he stopped playing after 10 seasons, which we all know he could have kept playing for at least 5 more years. Not taking anything away from Emmitt Smith, who ended up with the record. He's the number 1 leading rusher of all time, and that's the way it is. But just saying, if Barry Sanders would have kept playing for, let's say, 5 more years, if he would have just matched what Emmitt Smith did, and if he would have just bare minimum gained 700 yards a year, which would have given him 3,500 more yards, he would have had 18,769 yards, which would have put him over Emmitt Smith, which Emmitt has 18,355 yards. Or let's say he would have had spectacular 5 more years of 1,200 yards a year. He would have ended up with 21,269 yards. So what do you think? Would Barry have clinched the all-time leading rushing record if he continue to play? What are your thoughts about Barry Sanders? What are your thoughts about this conversation here? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to message me, and also like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know some other things you want to hear about. Peace.